Hi, I'm Maureen Pound, business coach for the brave. Welcome to MAUREEN Pound TV. Today, we're going to be looking at the 5 key things you need to remember when pricing your service. I'm often asked by my clients about how to price their services, and this came up for me again yesterday, the whole issue of pricing of services, when I got a new client who was interested in coaching, and she came to see me, and she'd in fact seen 4 people before me. So she was trying to work out, find the best coach for her, which is, good on her. But we had a discussion around pricing, and she informed me that the first person that she'd seen charged by the hour. So the coaching session was $100 per session, $100 per hour. And this ranged right up to $23,000 for a year from another guy that she saw. And there was everything in between. There was $330 a session and $1,000 a month. So we had a discussion around pricing of services, and it's really not as straightforward as when you're pricing a product. So I thought today I'd touch on 5 key things I think you need to remember when you price your services. So point 1 when you're pricing your services is to remember that it's not so much about the market price. So what I mean by this is that often people I work with want to, what's the price? I want to run a training course. What do I, or a class, or I want to consult. What's the daily rate? Well, how long's a piece of string? It really, really varies. It's not like it's a product like, say, you're selling an apple that has a general, market rate. There's a few variables like the season or who's selling, what store's selling the apple. But generally speaking, if you went out there and tried to sell an apple for $20, people would probably not want to buy your apple. But with a service, it's not so straightforward. So what I'm saying to you is don't get hung up on trying to find that perfect price or that market price out there, because there's a huge range. You even think of hairdressers. Hairdressers, you go to, someone like Just Cuts and get a $15 haircut. The hairdressers to the stars, they might charge, $10,000. Is their service actually that much better? Like, who knows? So just remember not to get hung up on the market price. So that's point 1 on 5 things to remember when pricing your service. Point 2 is consider the return on investment. So what I mean by this is consider the value your service gives your client. So what is the outcome they are getting? And it's often not the thing itself. It's what they're getting from it. So for example, with that coaching scenario of the $23,000, some people might say, "Oh my goodness, that's exorbitant to charge that much." Maybe it might be, but if you think about it, if a client goes to them, a small business person, and then they make $1 million, then the $23,000 is probably a pretty good investment. So you've really got to think about the value to your clients of your service and really point it out in the marketing material and when you're speaking to them. So that's point 2, consider the return on investment for your clients. So point 3 to remember when you are pricing your service is to actually bundle. So what I mean by bundle is make your service like a gift where you tie it up with a bow and make it seem really, really appealing. And the way you do this, by adding as much value or perceived value as you possibly can. So with that same example, with the $23,000, it might have been one-on-one coaching, and then bundled in there might be some, face-to-face live training. There might have been webinars, podcasts. There could have been laser calls, which is when you ring up and have a 5-minute chat to get a problem solved. Or it could be, unlimited email support. So have a think about what your service is and what you can add to that bundle to really give that added value. And a really good mentor of mine, Dale Beaumont, points out that when you're bundling, it's actually, if it's a service, it's really good to add a product to it. So with that, you might, for instance, add a book. And if you've got products, it's really good to bundle by adding a service. It really adds to that perceived value. So point 3 was remember to bundle. Point 4, in terms of things to remember when pricing your service, is to test your price with enough people. So my example of this is a few years ago, I had a mentor, Bernadette Doyle. She's a great mentor in Northern Ireland, and she really challenged me to bundle my services much more and to raise my price. So I thought, okay, she challenged me to do it. I went, I did it. And what happened? The first person came, I made the offer, and they said no. So what I did was went, oh no, this is not going to work. The person didn't want it. I can't do this, and I sort of shut down a bit. But if you notice what I was doing there was I didn't test the market. I hadn't had enough people to find out whether there was really, that they were willing to pay that and that the value was there for them. So what I ended up doing was I sort of laid low for a little while, and then I went, okay, I got a bit of courage up again, and I tried it again. The next person said no, but I was more determined this time. The third person said yes, and the fourth person said yes. So then I realised that there was a market out there for my service in the way that I'd bundled it. So really, really remember to test with enough numbers. Also, point I want to make around this is also when you're doing this, consider the work involved for yourself. So with my, $23,000 coaching example versus $100 an hour example, if say that $23,000 package, the guy had to see 15 people to get one client, and the woman who charged $100 an hour saw 15 people and she got 10 clients, who's better off? You may think immediately, oh yes, it's the woman. But if her service is $100 an hour, and which equates to around $1,000 a person, she might give them 10 sessions, for instance, then those 10 people, that's $10,000, and she's working with 10 people, and there's a lot of work involved in that, versus your guy, sure, he had to see 15 people to get his one, but he's got 23,000 people with a lot less work. So also consider that when you're bundling your services and you're pricing them, and remember that point number 2 around the value. Okay, so that's point 4. Test price with enough people or numbers. So point 5 in terms of what you need to remember to do when pricing your services is don't link it to your own sense of worth. So you might think by saying that I'm like, going a bit airy-fairy on you. I'm not. What I really mean here is that that often people just do. We don't mean to, but we do. So an example of this is I often get people who've come from a corporate background and they've started their businesses, become entrepreneurs, and they want support, and the support around pricing. If the person has been in a job where they've earned $100,000 and they come into price, what do you reckon they do? They price their service so that they actually get $100,000 for the year, because that's where their level is. And then somebody who's earned $40,000 in their corporate jobs comes through, and where do they price it? They price their service so that in that year they'll get $40,000. So I really want you to think about, again, make it about the value to the people, and don't make it about yourself so much, and don't make it about exchange for money and time. It's not about that. Again, it's about what your clients and customers get from what you provide. So there you have it, my 5 key things to remember when pricing your services. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this episode of MAUREEN Pound TV. If you'd like even more business tips and ideas, then please subscribe to MAUREEN Pound TV. And if you'd like my free report on 25 easy ways to grow your business in the next 6 months, then click here.